The world is a game of wolves in sheep's clothing, and your kindness is the fer they'll shave to leave you exposed. Machiavelli's philosophy isn't a blueprint for tyrants. It is liberation for those shackled by their own virtue. You've been conditioned to equate morality with martyrdom, to mistake submissiveness for nobility, and to starve your ambition to feed others comfort. This video dismantles those lies. Here, you'll learn Taos empathy as a dagger, not a crutch, to forge alliances from calculated reciprocity, not blind faith, and to transform every insult, every betrayal, into fuel for impregnable authority. Power is not taken from you. It is surrendered by those who lack the courage to claim it. Stop negotiating for scraps. The throne is empty. Sit. The world you inhabit now, soft, predictable, governed by hollow virtues and fragile promises, is a lie. It is a stage play performed by children, where roles are assigned by those who mistake kindness for weakness and fairness for truth. You, like all who dwell in this realm of innocence, have been conditioned to believe that goodness is rewarded, that honesty is armor, and that power flows to those who wait their turn. You cling to these myths because they spare you the discomfort of seeing the world as it is, a labyrinth of ambition, envy, and primal self-interest. But your struggles, the betrayals, the stagnation, the gnawing sense of powerlessness, are not failures of character. They are symptoms of a disease called innocence. To cure it, you must first burn the ordinary world to ash. Consider the garden, a place of order, where sunlight and rain are trusted to nourish, where roots grow deep in faith that the soil will not betray them. But a garden is not a natural state. It is a delusion. Nature is not gentle. Storms flatten blooms. Wolves stalk the perimeter. Beneath the surface, roots strangle one another for sustenance. Your innocence is that garden, meticulously curated, achingly fragile, and utterly defenseless against the chaos that hungers to devour it. Machiavelli did not write The Prince to glorify cruelty, but to expose this truth. All lasting power is built on the ruins of naivety. You have been taught to fear the wolf, but the greater danger is believing the wolf does not exist. Let us dissect your pain. You give loyalty, expecting reciprocity, only to be discarded when you are no longer useful. You speak truths, assuming others will honor them, only to watch your words twisted into weapons against you. You sacrifice for the collective, only to find yourself trapped in the chorus while lesser minds claim the stage. These are not injustices, they are lessons. Your suffering is the price of refusing to see humanity as it is, rather than what you wish it. Machiavelli's genius was his rejection of idealism as a moral failing. Men are ungrateful, fickle, liars and deceivers, he wrote, not to condemn, but to clarify. To wield power, you must first accept that trust is not a virtue, is a vulnerability. The path begins here, in the ordinary world, where you are still shackled by the belief that power is inherited, bestowed, or earned through virtue. You wait for permission, for validation, for a sign that the universe approves of your hunger. But power is not given. It is taken by those ruthless enough to see opportunity in chaos and disciplined enough to shape it. Your innocence is a mask you wear to appease others, but beneath it, the raw materials of mastery already exist. The frustration you feel when outmaneuvered, that is your instinct for strategy, stifled by politeness. The bitterness when overlooked, that is ambition, poisoned by self-doubt. The art of manipulation is not about becoming someone else. It is about weaponizing the self you've been told to suppress. To shed innocence is not to abandon morality, it is to redefine it. The weak call manipulation evil because they lack the courage to admit they, too, manipulate. The parent who guilts a child into obedience, the lover who withholds affection to punish, the friend who trades secrets for social leverage. These are not sins. They are proof that all human exchange is transactional. The difference between the powerless and the powerful is that the latter do not apologize for this truth. They study it. They master it. They turn the rules of the game into a blade. Begin with observation. The ordinary world thrives on distractions, grand gestures, sentimental rhetoric, performative empathy, but power lives in the margins. who lingers after meetings to murmur in a leader's ear. Study the pauses in a rival's speech, where unspoken fears fester. Track the patterns of those who claim to serve the greater good, while quietly hoarding resources. When you stop listening to what people say and start dissecting what they do, the ordinary world fractures. You see the strings, you see the puppeteers, and soon you will seize the strings yourself. Your greatest obstacle is not the cunning of others, but your own lingering allegiance to innocence. You crave love, but fear being called manipulative. You hunger for influence, but shrink from the solitude of command. This is the paradox of power. To hold it, you must want it more than you want the approval of those you will eventually rule. Machiavelli's infamous lion and fox, the duality of force and cunning, are not metaphors for tyranny. They are survival mechanisms. The lion's strength is useless without the fox's awareness of traps. The fox's cleverness fails without the lion's willingness to act. Innocence dies when you merge these forces within yourself. I will not lie to you. This transformation will feel like a death. The part of you that still believes in fairness, in cosmic justice, in the inherent goodness of others, that part must be sacrificed. But in its place, something far more potent will rise. A self that does not wait for storms to pass, but learns to dance in the rain. A mind that no longer fears betrayal, because it has anticipated every betrayal in advance. A will that bends reality by accepting its darkest truths. The ordinary world is a trap. Your innocence is the lock. Machiavelli's philosophy is the key. Turn it. There is a moment, sharp as a blade, fleeting as a breath, when the universe offers you a choice: to remain a spectator in the theater of life, or to seize the script and rewrite it. You feel it in the restless nights, the simmering resentment as others ascend while you linger, the quiet fury when your worth is dismissed by those who fear your potential. This is not envy, it is your call to power, a primal signal that you are meant for more than the narrow role assigned to you. But like all calls, it is also a test. Will you dismiss it as arrogance, as society has trained you to do? Or will you recognize it for what it is, the first tremor of your awakening? To answer this call is not to embrace villainy. It is to reject the delusion that power is reserved for the chosen. Power is a language, and fluency begins when you stop apologizing for your hunger to speak it. You have been taught to fear ambition, to equate it with greed, to dilute it with modesty, to bury it under the suffocating weight of others' expectations. But ambition is not a sin, it is biology. The lion does not apologize for taking the antelope. The storm does not negotiate. With the trees it uproots. Nature's only law is growth, and growth demands conquest. Machiavelli understood this. He did not moralize power, he demystified it. In The Prince, he stripped away the pretense that rulers are divine or virtuous. They are simply those who dared to want more and acted without flinching. Your call is no different. That ache for control, for influence, for legacy, it is not a flaw. It is the friction of your soul against the cage of the ordinary world. The question is not whether you deserve power, but whether you have the clarity to claim it. Let us name your resistance. You fear the cost, the friendships that may sour, the labels others will slap on you: ruthless, selfish, calculating. You fear losing the warmth of approval, the comfort of blending in. But what has approval given you? Empty praise from those who would discard you the moment you threaten their status. What has blending in earned you? A seat at the table of the forgettable. Machiavelli's ruthlessness was not cruelty, it was precision. He wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." Not as a mandate for tyranny, but as a lesson in priorities. Love is fickle, fear is reliable, but neither matters as much as respect. The unspoken acknowledgement that you cannot be moved unless you choose to move. To heed the call is to accept that power requires sacrifice, and the first sacrifice is your addiction to being liked. The path to power is not paved with grand proclamations or sudden coups. It begins in the shadows of your daily life, the meetings where you bite your tongue, the relationships where you perform docility, the ideas you dilute to avoid intimidating others. These are not acts of kindness, they are acts of self-betrayal. Every time you shrink, you rehearse impotence. Every time you defer, you anoint someone else as your sovereign. Machiavelli's prince does not wait for a crown. He seizes the tools of influence at hand. The office gossip who controls narratives through whispers. Study her. The colleague who wins favor by anticipating the boss's needs. Emulate him. Power is not a distant throne. It is the subtle accumulation of leverage, and leverage lives in the details others ignore. Your call is here, now, in the petty dynamics you've dismissed as beneath you. Dominate the small battles, and the war is already yours. You cling to the myth of readiness. I'll act when I'm smarter, richer, better connected. But power is not a destination, it is a current. You do not step into it, you dive and learn to swim as you go. The perfect moment is a fairy tale told by those who fear your ascent. Recall Cesare Borgia, Machiavelli's archetype of the ideal ruler. He did not wait for permission to consolidate his reign. He forged alliances, betrayed them when necessary, and manipulated chaos into order. His ruthlessness was not a character flaw, it was adaptability. The world does not care about your trauma, your doubts, your noble intentions. It cares only for what you can do. The call to power is the realization that you are already enough, not because you are perfect, but because you are willing to act. Your greatest deception is not the lies you tell others, but the lies you tell yourself. I don't want to hurt anyone. I'm not cut out for this. It's too late. These are not truths. They are fear in disguise. Machiavelli's philosophy does not require you to abandon ethics. It demands you abandon delusion. Every act of power requires trade-offs. To advocate for your child's future is to disadvantage another's. To negotiate a raise is to redirect resources from a rival. To lead is to disappoint, to enrage, to outshine. The moral high ground is a lonely plateau where nothing grows. True power lies in the valley of difficult choices, where you weigh consequences without paralysis, act without guarantees, and accept that even inaction is a form of violence against yourself. The call will not cease, it will sharpen. In every snub, every injustice, every flicker of potential squandered, you can mute it with distractions, numb it with complacency, bury it under rationalizations, but it will still be there, a shadow self clawing at the walls of your conformity. To answer it, you need no grand plan. You need only three things: the will to observe coldly, the courage to act decisively, and the wisdom to never confuse mercy for weakness. Machiavelli's true lesson is not about principalities or war. It is about sovereignty. The moment you stop waiting for power to be offered and start treating every interaction as a negotiation, every relationship as an alliance, every setback as intelligence, you become prince of your own destiny. The ordinary world will condemn you for this. It will call you arrogant, dangerous, unhinged. Let it. The wolves do not concern themselves with the opinions of sheep. Your call to power is not a request, it is a declaration. The game was always rigged, now you're learning to rig it back. Betrayal is not an aberration. It is the universe's most honest teacher. It carves its lessons into your bones with the precision of a surgeon and the brutality of a siege, leaving you with a choice: collapse into the fetal position of victimhood, or rise with the clarity that every betrayal is a confession of your value. You will endure this ordeal. You will be lied to by those you elevated, outmaneuvered by those you mentored, abandoned by those you shielded from the storm. This is not tragedy, it is curriculum. Machiavelli did not weep when his allies turned on him. He studied their motives, honed his strategy, and wrote The Prince in Exile. Betrayal is not a wound to mourn. It is a mirror, revealing who you truly are and what you are truly worth. The question is not why they betrayed you, but why you ever believed they wouldn't. Consider the scorpion and the frog, a fable you've misunderstood. The scorpion stings the frog mid-river, drowning them both. Moralists call this human nature, a fatal flaw. Fools. The frog's error was not trusting the scorpion. It was failing to demand something the scorpion valued more than its own survival. Every betrayal is a transaction. Someone calculated that the cost of losing you was worth the reward of destroying you. Your pain is not from their disloyalty, but from your failure to price yourself correctly. Machiavelli's cardinal rule, never let others define your value, is not paranoia. It is the acknowledgement that loyalty is a currency, and you have been trading gold for dust. To survive this ordeal, you must become the banker, not the beggar. Let us dissect the anatomy of betrayal. It begins not with the act itself, but with the slow rot of perceived weakness. When you plead for loyalty, you advertise desperation. When you forgive easily, you teach others that your boundaries are negotiable. When you conflate vulnerability with intimacy, you hand them the knife and turn your back. Machiavelli's prince does not beg for allegiance. He commands it through a balance of awe and unease. Awe compels others to elevate you. Unease compels them to think twice before crossing you. Betrayal blooms in the absence of both. Your ordeal is not punishment for being too trusting, but for being too predictable. The lion does not fear the jackal. It knows the jackal's nature. But the lion also knows that to sleep soundly, it must first establish the cost of trespassing on its territory. You crave justice. You want the betrayer exposed, humiliated, broken. This is a child's fantasy. Public vengeance is theater, not strategy. It wastes resources, fixates your mind on the past, and teaches your enemies how to hurt you. Machiavelli's answer to betrayal was not revenge. It was reconfiguration. When Cesare Borgia's mercenary captain, Vitellozzo, plotted against him, Borgia did not rant or rage. He invited Vitellozzo to a banquet, strangled him with his own hands, and then absorbed the man's army into his own. Ruthless? Perhaps. Effective? Unquestionably. Your power lies not in punishing the betrayer, but in turning their treachery into a tool. Every betrayal is an intelligence report. It reveals who is ambitious, who is fearful, who is easily bought. File it. Exploit it. Never let them see you bleed. The weak believe trust is rebuilt through forgiveness. This is a delusion. Trust is a bridge burned by betrayal. To rebuild it is to invite a second collapse. The strong rebuild leverage. When a general defects, you do not win him back with promises. You take his family hostage. When a lover strays, you do not reclaim them with tears. You make them fear what you know, what you'll reveal, what you'll become without them. This is not cynicism, it is realism. Machiavelli wrote, "Men are so simple and so much inclined to obey immediate needs that a deceiver will never lack victims for his deceptions." Your task is not to eliminate deception, but to ensure that deceiving you becomes more costly than serving you. The ordeal of betrayal ends when you replace the hope of loyalty with the certainty of consequence. But what of the self-betrayal, the part of you that whispers, "You deserved this," that flinches at your own ruthlessness, that longs to return to the simplicity of trust? This is the true ordeal. To wield power, you must betray your own innocence again and again. The child who believed in fairness must die. The idealist who sought pure motives must be suffocated. The acolyte who waited for external validation must be exiled. Machiavelli's philosophy is not for the pure of heart. It is for those willing to sacrifice their own sanctity to the greater God of sovereignty. Every time you choose pragmatism over righteousness, you are not losing your soul. You are trading a candle for a wildfire. There is a secret beyond this ordeal. Betrayal is a gift. It strips away the luxury of naivety. It forges your intuition into a scalpel. It teaches you to see alliances as temporary and enemies as situational. The prince who survives betrayal does not emerge jaded. He emerges free. Free from the narcotic of false loyalty. Free to act without illusion. Free to rule not by love or fear alone, but by the transcendent calculus of control. You will never again be blindsided because you will finally understand. Betrayal is not the exception, it is the norm, and norms are meant to be weaponized. When the ordeal comes, and it will, do not pray for mercy. Do not wallow in rage. Sit silently in the wreckage and sift through the debris for the one thing that matters: leverage. Every betrayer leaves a trail: indiscretions, debts, unspoken shames. Collect them, catalog them. Let the betrayer believe he's won. Then, when the time is ripe, tighten it, not to destroy them, but to redirect their ambition. A broken enemy is useless. A collared enemy is a puppet. This is the pinnacle of Machiavellian artistry, transforming betrayal into a renewable resource. You fear becoming a monster. Good. That fear is the leash that separates you from the true beasts. Machiavelli's prince is not a tyrant. He is a sculptor, molding chaos into order through will and wit. The ordeal of betrayal is your chisel. Let it carve away everything soft, everything superfluous, everything that clings to the fairy tales of your former self. What remains will be unyielding, undeniable, and utterly alive. The path to power is paved with the bones of the betrayed. The difference between the buried and the sovereign is simple. One cursed the shovel, the other learned to wield it. The path to sovereignty ends where your obedience to weakness begins. Machiavelli's philosophy is not a curse, it is a coronation. You've been taught that manipulation corrupts, but the truth is far darker. Naivety corrupts absolutely. It robs you of agency, leaving you a beggar in a kingdom of thieves. This video has armed you with the blade of pragmatism, the shield of strategic indifference, and the crown of self-interest. The world will never reward your goodness. It rewards only those who command respect through foresight and force. Go now, not as predator or prey, but as architect. Let them cling to their fairy tales. You'll be writing history. Your enemies will call you ruthless. Let they fear your reign. Every choice you make bends the arc of fate, not to fate's will, but to yours. The chessboard awaits. History remembers not the kind, but the cunning. This is your covenant. Rule with the clarity that every handshake hides a dagger, every smile veils a demand. Your kindness is now a weapon, your mercy a calculated gambit. You are no longer a player in their game. You are the architect of empires. The age of apology is dead. Long live the sovereign.